Before World War I, the Hungarians were being oppressed by the Austrians, but multiple revolts caused the Austrians to react and make the Kingdom of Austria-Hungary, which then participated in World War I and lost the war, which then made the empire be dissolved. After World War II, the Hungarians became an independent nation. In 1938, the Anschluss of Austria happened, which then caused the Germans and the Hungarians to have a land border, which then caused the Germans to have more of a keen interest in Hungarian politics. Also in 1938, the Sudetenland crisis happened, which then caused the Sudetenland to be transferred over to Germany from Czechoslovakia, which then Hungary thought that they should more or less align with Germany because they are growing power in the region. In 1939, the annexation of Czechoslovakia happened, where the new state of Slovakia was released by the Germans, and now Slovakia was a puppet to the Germans, and Hungary thought of more and more of the benefits of joining the German. In 1940, the annexation of France and Poland has already happened, and the naval invasions of Denmark and Norway have taken place, which then caused the Hungarians to realize there was no other option, and joined the Germans in 1940. In 1941, the Germans decided to invade the Soviet Union, which then caused the Hungarians to join the Germans as well, since they really had no other choice, and they lost a lot of Hungarians doing so. In 1942, the invasion of the Soviet Union was still in progress, and many Hungarians were still dying. 1943 was a very rough year for Germany, since most of their fronts have actually stalled, and their major offensive on Kursk actually turned into a massive backfire, which then ended up losing a lot of armored corps. And the Hungarians, they lost a lot with the Germans. In 1944, the German military was not doing so good. They were being pushed back on all fronts, in Italy, in Normandy, and in the Soviet Union. Alongside the Germans were the Hungarians. They were also dying with them. In 1945, the Hungarians were liberated by the Allied forts. After World War I, the Hungarian living conditions weren't actually that great, but it wasn't helping matters that the Soviets didn't really want them to get better. In 1956, mild reforms have taken place, which then caused the Hungarians to believe that they could peacefully protest with no intervention. This did start with no intervention, but then as the days went by, a bunch of Soviets decided to send armored vehicles, infantry, whatever, and then it just overwhelmed the rebellion, and most of the leaders were hanged. The reason why the Soviets didn't want the Hungarians to break away was because then a massive hole would open up in the Iron Curtain, which then would also weaken the defense of Moscow in case of an Allied invasion. So this caused Russia to act rashly and just kill all the protesters. The reason why the Hungarians revolted in the first place was because the living conditions were terrible, and the Soviets weren't helping matters by not aiding them in the way they should be. And also, the Soviets were treating them more as an occupied nation than a nation to stand with. The Hungarians needed physical freedom, since they were being physically withheld from getting independence from the Soviet Union, and they decided to get this independence by themselves. But in 1989, all the Soviet territories got independence because the Soviets decided to have a better diplomatic policy, which said they would not get involved in a revolt or rebellion, which then caused them to lose all their territories, and then eventually led to the actual dissolution of the Soviet Union.